Hey guys, so in the midst of this lockdown and quarantine mode situation, I kind of wanted to bring a video to you guys. For some of you guys that might be having a hard time throughout this process, like some of you guys might be having a difficult time dealing with the amount of like isolation that comes with something like this, like a lockdown or a quarantine or whatever you want to kind of label it as. And I want to talk about some of the challenges that either we are facing currently right now, or the challenges that we're going to be facing in the near future if this lockdown continues to go forward as is. Because as of right now, like where I'm living in Toronto, we're basically just completely locked down, right? You can't go to a restaurant even if you wanted to. You can only pick up or deliver. You can't really go out and socialize with friends or anything like that. So you're basically just told to stay in your apartment. I mean, you can take a walk if you wanted to, but for the most part, you're basically told to just kind of do your own thing, stay in your apartments, and keep it like that. So what I wanted to discuss is some of the dangers in it. So the more we go through this lockdown, let's say if this thing lasts like 2-3 months more, or 4 or 5 months more, maybe into the summer, maybe through the winter, you're gonna see people start to, get really depressed. And the more we go, I think the more you're gonna see like these suicide rates going up, and people are gonna start really having a difficult time with this, what I like to call isolation, kind of isolation mode, right? And it's gonna be very difficult for some people, depending on your personality type and depending on like how happy you were or your level of consciousness before this lockdown. It's going to affect everyone a little bit differently. So for those of you who are having like a really hard time, you're just like, Jack, like this is difficult. Like, I feel like, this is going to last forever, or whatever it may be. And I want you guys to know that all these kind of thoughts that you might be having, like, they're going to be temporary. Cause like sometimes, when you're by yourself, sometimes you'll have thoughts like you'll just be, in bed, just ready to sleep. And now that it's this quarantine lockdown mode and you're kind of like forced to be in isolation a lot, you're just like, your mind just starts wandering to places maybe that you don't want it to go, or just like weird things that you've never really thought about before. Like you'll be looking at your arm and you'll be like, oh my, you're like, how is my elbow moving? Like what, like how do my hands move? I'm not doing anything. It's just my brain kind of doing that. And it's like, you're like, what's going on? Like, and you'll start to think, so that you might be a little bit crazy. And some of these thoughts are gonna, come up, and some of these thoughts you might be having might be very depressive thoughts, and I want you guys to know that, like, if you're having some like unusual thoughts, like compared to like what you usually have, or more of it, or more frequently, or whatever it may be, these are all very, very temporary, thoughts. So it's hard for your brain to kind of see a way out. Like when it's kind of like stuck in this lockdown quarantine mode, it's hard for you to see like the normal life that's going to happen in the future. Like you kind of lose sight of that, not only in your brain, but kind of in your soul as well, where you're just like, you can't even imagine things going back to normal. And you're like just so stuck in this mode, and it's not good. You're gonna start to feel, worse and worse. You might feel more anxiety than you normally feel. You might feel just more negative emotions, just in general, than that you usually don't feel as much of, like pre-lockdown or maybe after lockdown or whatever it may be. So you might be feeling a certain type of way. Like for those people specifically, I'd like to tell you that I promise, like these negative kind of emotions and some of these thoughts you're having, they're very temporary. Even though it doesn't seem like it now, they are very temporary. It's like the same thing that goes on with people like, that get stuck in, like, let's say, for example, you've been hospitalized for like a couple weeks. It's like you have this terrible feeling of like, life can never be the same again. It's impossible, until you get out of the hospital and you get back into your routine and everything, comes back to normal and everything's actually great. It becomes excellent, it just falls into place, afterwards. So in these times of turbulence, let's call them, and this doesn't necessarily have to mean just lockdowns or quarantine. I mean turbulence in the sense of like anything that kind of shakes you up in life. Anything that's gonna be something that you usually get very stressed out about in life and brings you anxiety and depression. You have to realize that these things are all temporary. All of them are temporary. And when you realize that in the moment, during your coping of these things, let's just use the quarantine as the thing, since it's what we're all dealing with right now simultaneously. So while you're dealing with it, it's important to know, and to kind of laugh at some of the thoughts that you're having. You're just like, hey, I'm not going to go down that route. Thank you, brain, but no, okay? And just kind of laugh about it and have a good time about it. And try to, if the worse you feel, the more you probably just need to maybe talk to some humans. Always, talking to humans is always a good thing. That'll make you feel better. If you're living with people, obviously that makes it a lot easier too. So if you're living with, a friend or a girlfriend or whatever it may be, your family, that's going to make your lockdown life a lot easier. You can always just talk to them. Or if you're living by yourself, like I am over here, then you can just video call with your friends if you want to every now and again. I admittedly haven't been doing enough of this, but I keep a lot of touch with humans on an everyday basis on Skype, right? With Team 651 and a lot of the guys there. So we keep a lot of touch every day. So I'm in touch with humans all the time. But if you're feeling very lonely and whatever it may be, if you're living by yourself through this and you haven't actually talked to an actual human like face to face in a while, it's really good to try to do as many video calls as you can, either with your family or your friends or your cousins, whatever it may be. Just kind of, and just tell them about some of the challenges you've been having. Like, hey, listen, I'm having a hard time with this. How are you guys dealing with this? And this and that. And then you can get into a conversation where you might find out that somebody's feeling the exact same way as you are. Or you can, get some helpful advice, to feel a little bit better during this process as well. So that's my advice to anybody who's feeling depressed or overly anxious during this time. I hope that helps you. So the second bit of the dangers that I see with quarantine is for those of you out there that really like to drive fast. Yes, I know that sounds really weird, like people that drive fast, like the guys that have a need for speed or the girls that have a need for speed. You get in your car and you just love to just really just drive fast, and because I've been out on the roads here and there's no cars. This is a very busy city, Toronto downtown. It's not New York City, but it's a busy city. And there's a lot of cars usually, you can't really drive that fast. Or anywhere you're living, there's gonna be less cars everywhere, right? So you see people driving faster. And this is for those of you that like to race cars and stuff, this is, the racing cars person's dreams. They go on the side streets and they can race and zoom as fast as they want. And there's no cars in the way. It doesn't matter what time of the day it is almost. So those people, you gotta be very careful if you're one of those people. Especially if it's coupled with some of the stuff we just talked about. If you're overly depressed, you're overly anxious, and then you get in your car and now you're angrily driving fast, you need to really calm down a little bit or just not drive, because I find that, a lot of people get relaxed from driving. It's a relaxing thing sometimes, you're just oh, I'm overly anxious in the house. Let me just go out, I'll go out for a quick drive, 30 minutes to 1 hour, and I'll come back. No problem. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Don't go off on the highway going 150, miles an hour, 100, 200, whatever, 300 kilometers an hour, whatever the speeds are. Don't go crazy. Just take it easy. And another thing, number 3. So here are things. Now I'm going to give you just a couple of bits of advice that can help a lot during this time. Okay. One of them is just meditation. Because why meditation is so important, just hear me out on this one, okay? Why meditation is so important in a time like this is because at a time like this, you're gonna be more alone by yourself with your thoughts, okay? Just you by yourself with your own thoughts than ever before, okay? So what I mean by that is that usually in life, there's so many distractions right? There's socializing, there's restaurants, there's bars, there's clubs, there's so many different distractions. Now the only distractions are what you can do at home for the most part, like watching TV or going on the internet or whatever it may be, which those distractions you'll still use. But now you're a little bit more gonna be with yourself. So what does that mean for you? What does that mean for you? So I read a quote in the book one time, and I thought it was the most, interesting thing. I can't word it for you piece by piece because I don't remember exactly what the quote was. But it was something along the lines of, if you want to measure how happy you are as a person, okay, as a human, how happy you are, judge it by how you feel sitting still in a room by yourself with no distractions. Okay, so what does that mean? How would you feel? Ask yourself this question. This is an interesting question to ask yourself here. Or even experiment with it. Try it out. See what happens. How would you feel if you go inside your bedroom, you leave your phone outside of the bedroom, you throw your phone out, and you make sure there's no computer and no TV open in the bedroom? You can't sleep either, obviously, okay? You just sit on your bed or you lay on your bed, and it's just you and your thoughts. And no distractions. Nothing. It's literally nothing. You and your brain. And you're not tired. You're not napping. You're not sleeping. You're just sitting there by yourself, pondering with your own thoughts. How would you feel in that situation? Do you avoid that? Are you avoiding that with all these distractions? And it's very important to do this. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Is because in life, all of us, we all face these distractions I just discussed about. And we're all gonna get distracted at a certain point or another with everything in life, like everything and anything. Okay? But there's gonna be a lot of moments in life that the distractions are just gonna not work. You're gonna have to be by yourself with your thoughts, okay? Can you handle that? Are you able to diffuse any negative thoughts you may have? Are you able to be calm in a situation like that? Okay? These are real true tests of your mental strength, your level of consciousness as a human, okay? So try this out, test it out for yourself, or just think to yourself, like, how would I respond? Did I ever even think about that? And so what meditation kind of helps you with is what I'm trying to get at. What it helps you with is being so immersed into the present moment that you're not inside your head thinking about, something else. Anything. It could be anything. Your mind goes to places all the time, whether it be negative, positive, the future, the past, whatever it may be. We constantly have these thoughts in our mind just floating around. If you're aware of it, if you pay attention, they're always there, all the time, almost, it seems like. But what meditation does for you, which has completely changed my life, and this is the perfect time to practice it since you have so much time at home by yourself, And the important part about meditation is you can't judge the results on a day-to-day basis. You can't be like, I did the meditation, I still feel like shit, this isn't working, all right, I'm done with this. Meditation is like a compounding thing. Sometimes it may take months to see like the actual results and to be aware of those results. So, for example, the biggest things that meditation kind of helps you with is when you're in your mind, right? When you're, let's say, like, just notice it. When you're either by yourself or you're outside walking or whatever it may be, you may be at a point where you get inside your own head. You're thinking about something, you're worried about something, or you're fearful about something, you're projecting something in the future, or whatever it may be. You're inside your head and you're not able to immerse yourself into this present moment and be totally aware of exactly what's going on right this second. And so meditation trains your brain, okay? It is a legitimate training of your brain to be immersed into the present moment. And what that does is, more than anything, is it helps you to not always be thinking all the time. So now, as you practice meditation every day, you notice slowly but surely throughout your days, you're more calm than you used to be. You're more relaxed than you used to be, just in general. You know, sometimes it takes a long time to kind of sort this out and figure it out. So I've been meditating for, I want to say about 7 or 8 years now, every single day. Not much, I don't do much. I do about anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes per day. This year I've been doing more 10 to 15 kind of minutes per day. And just kind of being there and breathing in with your breath and just being in that present moment, over time it compounds in such a big way, because I can look back at my life from 7 or 8 years ago and I notice a huge difference. Like, it's not small, it's massive. It is a massive difference, like a mountain of difference that I notice in myself from being more aware and kind of being able to be more in the present moment. And, you know, after reading the book, there's a book called The Power of Now, where they discuss, like, if you're in the present moment more and more, you know, that's the goal. Like, if you're more in the present moment, it's impossible, you heard it, impossible to feel negative emotions while you're in the present moment, okay? You can only feel negative emotions when you're thinking about something, okay, in your brain, when the wheels are turning. That's when you can feel negative emotions. When you're replaying things in your mind, when you're projecting the future. And I mean, I don't want to steer you guys in the wrong direction, because I'm not trying to say that meditation has completely cured me of this. I think all the time as well. But let's say, for example, 7 years ago, my mind, I would be like daydreaming and not in the present moment and projecting future or past or whatever else for about, let's say, like something as high as like 90% of my day, let's say. I'm just using hypothetical numbers. I'm not sure if it's 90%. It's kind of hard to actually know, you know, how much you're actually thinking about random stuff in your mind and how much you're actually here, just right here, you know, with me right now, like we're one together. And now, let's say from that 90%, now I'm at like 60% of going inside my mind and thinking about random things. And then the other 40%, I'm literally immersed into the moment, where that's where all the joy, you know, in life is. And some examples of things you do that immerse you into the moment without you even realizing it. Actually watching TV, you get immersed into the moment because you're so stuck inside the characters in the movie or the show that you're watching, and you're so in the moment so that you can't feel your negative emotions while you're so immersed into that. So we use that as a distraction. Okay, so we use that as a distraction. We'll watch Game of Thrones, and while we're watching Game of Thrones, we're feeling maybe some positive emotions, or we're feeling neutral, right? We're feeling good. And so while you're watching it, you're so immersed into it, okay? You're so powerfully immersed into it that you feel amazing. And then same thing, let's say when you're socializing or going back and forth or hanging out with a friend, you're talking back and forth. Maybe even while you're watching this video, you might have good emotions or neutral emotions at the very least. When something is really capturing your attention in a big way, okay, that's when you feel these good or neutral emotions, because you're in the present moment. If you're watching me right now and you're so immersed in what I'm saying, you're actually living in the present moment, because you're not thinking about other things. You're not thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow, or what you have to do, next week, or what you did this morning that you didn't like, or what somebody said to you, or whatever else that might have brought you some negative emotions. So you're fully immersed into the present moment. And maybe after I said that, now you're maybe thinking about stuff and maybe starting to make yourself feel worse. But the main point being, you want to get to a point where you're able to immerse yourself into the present moment without distractions, okay? While you're walking outside. Try this while you're walking outside. Take a 20 or 30 minute walk without daydreaming, okay? Without going into your mind and thinking about shit. You know, take that 20 or 30 minute walk. I challenge you to do this. And do it in a meditative kind of state or a meditative kind of way. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You take the walk, okay, you're walking, blah, 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 and then you're outside and you're literally noticing everything. You're not going inside your brain, you're noticing everything. You're looking at the trees. You're noticing your own breath. You're noticing the people that are walking, calmly noticing, not like forcefully noticing them. Like, no, get me out of my mind. I gotta force myself to be out here. Calmly being outside and just noticing everything that's happening around you. And when you get to the point, and I'm not there either, when I should say, when we get to the point when we're able to immerse ourselves into the present moment at will, without distractions, not using distractions. That means sitting on a chair with no noise, no YouTube, no internet, no TV, nothing, okay? So sitting still in a situation like that and being able to not go crazy and drive yourself crazy inside your own mind is really truly where we all want to be at, okay? And meditation slowly takes you towards that direction. You know, this is a very difficult thing to perfect in your life, okay? Monks are the only ones that kind of come close to this. These guys that meditate like 20, 22 hours a day, they're meditating all the time. They're, you know, very close to that point of total immersion of, they're so aware of the present moment and they're so immersed into it and they don't get in their minds. And now, none of us are going to be monks, you know, realistically. But we can strive towards living a more happier and more fulfilled life just in general, you know, as much as possible. You know, you always want to go towards that. And you know what, like Tony Robbins says, progress equals happiness. So if you feel like you're progressing in your life, if you feel like you're taking a positive step towards something, it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it doesn't even necessarily have to be progress. It could just be perceived progress. If you think you're making progress in any area of your life, you're just gonna start to feel more joy, okay? So if you start to implement, you know, new habits into your life or whatever it may be, you're gonna begin to feel more joy, not after you've mastered this new habit or whatever. It's just literally as soon as you make the decision and the first actions, you know, towards this new thing that you're trying to implement into your life, you immediately start to feel better. And that's all I really have for you guys in this video, okay? And so for my final words, you know, during quarantine, you know, stay safe. I do encourage you to go for walks outside. I go for walks outside. Just make sure you're social distancing. Make sure you're not, you know, that close to people, but go take a walk outside, okay? It's good for your soul. Go take a walk outside. If you have a backyard, go hang out in your backyard. If you have a balcony, spend some time on the balcony. Try to step outside of the house when you can, okay? And try the meditative walking that I talked about. The meditative immersive walking where you're literally noticing everything around you and you slow down. Try to walk slower. That's another challenge I have for you. Try to walk a little bit slower. I noticed this when I'm walking downtown where when I walk fast, like I'm trying to get somewhere, like I'm like trying to close the gap and I'm trying to be somewhere, I feel a lot of anxiety. But when I'm actually slowing down and enjoying the process of the walk, it's just an excellent, beautiful feeling. So just slow down, enjoy the walk, have fun with it, and just realize that these emotions, these negative emotions, or these random thoughts, weird or whatever thoughts are coming to your mind or whatever it may be, they're all temporary. And, you know, we are going to get through this time. You know, quarantine is not going to last forever. Lockdown's not going to last forever. Life is going to move on. Just trust me on that one. It will. How long exactly it's going to take for things to get normal, obviously we don't know. But use this time to grow spiritually as a person, and also use this time to, sharpen your skills on, things that you've been kind of neglecting before quarantine. For me, for example, these last month and a half or a couple months, however long quarantine's been lasting, I've been studying so much poker, so much more poker, and it's just an excellent time to build strong habits inside the house, exercise more. I got this machine back here. I don't know if obviously you guys can see it. I got this machine back here, so I do push-ups and dips and so it's really important to actually exercise too during this time. So that's another one. I should have put this earlier on the video, but for those of you who stuck around that long, this is the extra bonus tip here. And it's not even a bonus tip, it should be like the meat of this video. Actually, I actually forgot about it. Exercising is so important, and for some of us that were exercising before, and then now we're in quarantine and we're not exercising, it's so difficult on our souls. Like we need that exercise. Like exercise is just so cleansing to you. It's so cleansing of anxiety and depression, and it helps so much. And for me, sometimes I feel like I'm in a funk, and then every time I feel like I'm in a funk, I'll think to myself, I'm like, wow. Every single time it's happened to me, I'm like, wow, I haven't exercised in like a week or two. And then I just get into like a funk meaning like I'm just like feeling kind of a weird way. I'm like, I don't know why I feel this way. I'm like, oh, I haven't exercised. So you don't need this machine to exercise. You can just do push-ups on your ground. You can do sit-ups. You can do stomach workouts. You can do yoga. You can YouTube all these things. Everything is right at your, at your footsteps. You have YouTube, then you have the whole world. So take advantage of that. Try to exercise. Go for a jog outside if that's what you like to do. If you want to run, go for a run outside. But make sure you're doing these things to kind of clear your mind, to cleanse your mind. And push-ups, sit-ups, all these like high intensity kind of workouts are going to be excellent for you. Okay, and I guess we'll leave it at this video here. If you've watched this video all the way to the end, definitely subscribe to this channel. Give it a thumbs up down below. And if you have like a specific kind of quarantine situation that you're personally dealing with, and you kind of can't see a way out and you want some advice, then shoot me a comment right here. Throw me a comment. I will help you and give you the best advice that I know how. If there's like a certain specific situation that you have, just don't be afraid to reach out to me, and or tell me about, a situation, you could even tell me about a situation where it was challenging for you and then you found a way out of. Whatever you want to do, like however way you want to engage or talk to me, I'm here for you guys. So let me know and stay safe during this, crazy time of uncertainty where nobody knows what's going on. We're all just like kind of like, whoa, what's happening here? But stay safe, stay positive. Get on those video calls with your family and friends if you have to, and realize that life will come back to normal at some point. All right, guys, take care.